Have you ever stopped to think about how your mouth might be sabotaging your entire life? It may sound dramatic, but it's not. Some people work hard, dream big, push themselves to the limit, but they talk too much. And that alone is enough to ruin everything. Because while you're speaking, someone's watching. While you're venting, someone's scheming. While you're revealing your plans, someone's setting a trap. And when you think you're just being honest, you might actually be being naive. Here's the harsh truth. If you don't control what you say, you'll be controlled by what you said. People lose relationships over one sentence said in a moment of anger. They lose respect at work because they complain too much. And some keep making the same mistakes simply because they never learned to keep quiet. The Stoic philosophy has warned us for centuries. True power doesn't lie in saying everything you think, but in knowing what should be left unsaid. Silence is where strength lives. Measured words carry wisdom, and it's through self-control, especially of the tongue, that a person becomes truly free. Today, you're going to understand why mastering your speech can transform your posture, your relationships, your energy, and your entire life. And you'll discover how to use Stoic wisdom to turn your mouth into a tool of power, not self-destruction.
Whenever you're about to speak, remember, your silence might be more powerful than any word. This reflection is inspired by the teachings of Epictetus, the former slave who became one of the greatest Stoic philosophers in history. To him, true freedom wasn't about doing whatever you wanted, but about mastering your impulses. And one of the most dangerous impulses is the urge to speak without thinking. Most people believe that having a strong opinion, speaking loudly, and asserting yourself verbally is a sign of strength. But Stoic philosophy teaches the opposite. It shows that a wise person observes before reacting, listens before responding, and only speaks when their words carry more value than silence. This video is an invitation to introspection, a deep dive into ancient wisdom to understand why mastering your words is one of the highest forms of self-control. You'll learn that a poorly chosen word is like an arrow released. There's no taking it back. And more than that, you'll realize how strategic silence can protect your reputation, raise your energy, and safeguard your relationships. This isn't about being mute or passive. It's about learning to speak less and achieve more. That is the Stoic path.
If something inside you has already started to awaken, if these words touched a sensitive part of your story, if you've realized that maybe you've spoken more than you should have, trusted someone who didn't deserve it, or regretted not keeping quiet, then this video is for you. But before we go any further, I want to ask you something simple. If this message has resonated with you so far, like the video now. That small action helps this channel reach more people who also need this kind of reflection. And if you feel that this type of message is something worth hearing more often, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Here, we don't give shallow advice. Here, every word is crafted to challenge you, strengthen you, and guide you toward true Stoic wisdom. It's about awakening your awareness. It's about taking control of your mind, your emotions, and your mouth. And take a second. If any phrase has stuck with you so far, drop it in the comments. Write, "Mastering my words is mastering my life." That kind of comment strengthens the community we're building together. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next might move you even more.
Most people don't realize it, but the habit of talking too much is actually a symptom of emotional instability. Speaking without thinking, reacting on impulse, revealing secrets out of neediness, venting to people who aren't equipped to help. All of that is a sign of a mind that hasn't yet learned to pause and observe before acting. We live in an age of overexposure. Everything is shared. Everything is posted. People broadcast their plans, their failures, their relationships, as if the whole world had the right or the obligation to know. But the Stoic sees things differently. He understands that what's intimate must be protected, that not every truth needs to be spoken, and that there is great power in staying silent, even when you're right, because those who talk too much end up revealing their weaknesses, and unfortunately, the world isn't full of kind people. Manipulative people will use your words against you. At work, toxic colleagues twist what you say. In your personal life, something said in a vulnerable moment becomes ammo for future wounds. The result? Broken relationships, lost opportunities, damaged reputations, and worse, a lingering weight of regret. Because once a word leaves your mouth, it never comes back. Stoic philosophy teaches us, quote, "Speak only when your words are more valuable than silence," unquote. The truth is, most of our problems start with the mouth, and many of them could have been avoided with one simple act: remaining silent.
Carlos and Alex grew up together, two inseparable friends since their teenage years, both smart, hard-working, and full of dreams. But there was one striking difference between them, and it was in how they used their words. Carlos was always more reserved. He observed quietly, listened more than he spoke, and rarely shared his plans or feelings with people who hadn't earned his trust. Alex, on the other hand, was the opposite, impulsive, talkative, and believed that being honest meant saying everything on his mind to anyone, anytime. He trusted too easily, opened up to anyone, and took pride in keeping nothing to himself. As young adults, they both started working at the same company. Carlos stayed focused, studied in silence, avoided gossip, and steered clear of controversy. Alex, meanwhile, shared personal problems with coworkers, complained about management, and revealed project details before they were even finalized. The result? Carlos quietly climbed the ladder. He earned respect, got promoted, and was seen as reliable, discreet, and mature. Alex became an easy target. His words reached the wrong ears, and before long, he was fired for not fitting the professional environment. Their friendship survived, but Alex learned the hard way. If you don't control your words, you hand your future over to others. Carlos wasn't more intelligent, but he was wiser. He had understood early what many people take a lifetime to learn. Silence is power. Discretion is protection. Measured words are strategy.
Stoic philosophy isn't about memorizing beautiful quotes, it's a way of life. And when it comes to mastering your words, there's a simple yet powerful technique that can transform your behavior: the Stoic Journal, also known as journaling. Seneca and Marcus Aurelius used this practice daily. They wrote every night, reflecting on what they had done, said, and felt throughout the day. And that silent writing guided them to make better decisions the next day. Want a practical example? Let's say you had a stressful day. You felt like exploding, like letting out everything stuck in your throat, but instead of reacting on impulse, you grab your notebook and write. Does what I'm feeling right now need to be said or just understood?
That simple question is a Stoic filter. It prevents you from oversharing unnecessarily. It blocks the impulse. And more importantly, it strengthens your self-awareness, which is the key to self-control. Another powerful technique, conscious breathing. When you feel the urge to react in the heat of the moment, take a deep breath, hold it for a few seconds, and exhale slowly. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, reduces cortisol, and brings control back to your rational mind. It sounds simple, but few people actually do it, and those who do gain an advantage, because those who master the impulse master themselves, and those who master themselves master their lives.
Talking too much, especially without a filter, isn't just a personality trait. It's an emotional response directly tied to our brain's reward system. When we vent, share something controversial, or feel like we're being heard, the brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter involved in addictions like social media, sugar, and gambling. In other words, talking too much becomes addictive. With every impulsive confession, the brain feels rewarded. But that relief is short-lived. Soon after comes the emotional hangover, regret, shame, anxiety, guilt. And if this cycle repeats, it slowly erodes your self-confidence and sabotages your relationships. Psychology calls this verbal self-sabotage, an unconscious pattern where we use speech as an escape valve for inner tension. But according to behavioral neuroscience, the more we activate this circuit, the harder it becomes to break free from it. On the other hand, when you practice conscious silence, you activate parts of the brain linked to mindfulness and self-control, like the prefrontal cortex. That's where the real power lies. Learning to pause before responding, to observe before reacting, that's not weakness. That's neurological mastery. That's emotional intelligence in action. So the Stoic isn't cold. He's trained. Trained not to be a prisoner of his own impulses. And the more he trains, the more his brain rewires itself, until silence becomes second nature, and emotional control becomes inevitable.
In human relationships, words hold a power most people underestimate. They build and they destroy. They connect and they divide. But the Stoic understands that words aren't always the best response. Sometimes, silence is the noblest form of respect for yourself. Think about your most important relationships. How many times have you tried to explain yourself just to be understood and weren't? How many times have you shared your feelings, opened up about your pain, only to be judged, ignored, or used as a target? The truth is, not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone has the emotional or moral capacity to carry what you share. In the family, silence can be a bridge between anger and forgiveness. In a tense moment, instead of shouting, arguing, or defending yourself, you choose to pause, observe, and breathe. That's not weakness. That's self-mastery. That's wisdom. At work, strategic silence protects you from drama. Avoiding unnecessary comments, staying out of gossip, resisting the urge to speak too soon. That makes you someone others trust and respect. Someone who listens before speaking and only says what's necessary. And on social media, how many conflicts could be avoided if people understood that not everything needs to be said, let alone posted? The constant urge to voice an opinion is often just an unconscious cry for validation.
But the Stoic doesn't need that. He has nothing to prove. Epictetus reminds us, if someone offends you, ask yourself, is this their problem or mine? True respect begins when you realize you don't have to react to everything. That silence isn't weakness, it's intelligence in motion. And in relationships, those who speak less, listen more, and understand better.
Vanessa was always intense, strong, determined, but verbally impulsive. She said everything that came to mind. She defended her ideas fiercely, and when she felt hurt, she vented right away to whoever was nearby. For a long time, she believed that was a virtue, honesty, transparency, courage, until in just a few months, she lost everything she valued most. A long-term relationship ended after a heated argument where she said something that should never have been said. At work, a colleague twisted a poorly worded conversation to push her out of an important project. And at home, a growing distance from her own sister came from words spoken in anger. Vanessa learned, in the hardest way, that saying everything you think isn't a virtue, it's recklessness. And sometimes, staying silent is an act of love, self-love. Today, she writes. She thinks before she speaks. She takes a deep breath before she reacts. She learned that the wisest voice is the one that comes after silence, not before. And you, how many things have you lost because you spoke too soon? How many regrets do you carry for not holding your tongue? The Stoic lesson is clear. Mastering your mouth is mastering your destiny. And that begins with small choices made daily. If this reflection spoke to you, write in the comments, "I choose the silence that builds." Share this video with someone who needs to learn how to protect themselves through silence. And if you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button now. To continue your journey towards self-mastery, watch the next video appearing here on screen. Stoic philosophy isn't here to make you cold. It's here to make you strong. And it all begins with silence.